heard you say that you feel set as you get ready to go to spring training. I would think as a general manager, though, you always got to be thinking, no one's going to have more pressure on you than you. But you always have to have your eyes looking, always have your head spinning, see what's going on around there. There's more pressure on you than on many other people to make sure that this thing is right, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I look at it as part of your job. It's a responsibility. You do it. I enjoy doing it. You're always keeping abreast on a daily basis of what's happening with other clubs. And, of course, once you get down to spring training, you have a good pulse of what's taking place with your team. So that's part of the job process. It's one that's enjoyable, and any of the type pressures, I think, come more from the outside because you're just doing your job and something you feel very comfortable doing.
So in your mind, what do you think is the story for these Detroit Tigers as spring training starts?
Well, I mean, to me, I think the real key for us is health, because if we're healthy, I think we have a good ball club. And so if we're in a spot where all of a sudden you can keep key guys in that lineup on a daily basis, or most of them, because you know you're going to get hit now and then, and you can keep your club on the field, I like the way our team shapes up.
A couple specific questions about specific guys, things that fans have interest in, most notably the second base situation. You got a situation there where Carlos is coming back from the microfracture surgery, big salary, a lot of history with this club, a lot of respect, I'm sure, from you and Jim to him. You're going to give him every bit his due. You also have young guys. Why do you feel confident that this is going to work out as it's set up now at second base?
Well, I think, first of all, we have enough guys that we think can play. So for us, if we have Rhymes and or Sizemore as our second baseman, we'll feel comfortable that they'll do a solid job for us. We also have a guy like Danny Worth behind him, who we know is an outstanding defensive player, so we like him. We have Santiago, who's a utility player that you can play over there. And then in Guillen's case, we really don't know what will happen, but the doctors have told us that he'll be fine, and really by the middle of March he'll be able to play in the games. So we'll just have to wait and see on his situation, but if something happens where he's not, we feel comfortable with the guys that we have, that they're not the guys per se carrying our club. They're more the supplementary type players, and they supplement the stars like Cabrera, Martinez, and Ordonez, and Peralta, and Jackson. So I think in that case that those guys will do the job for us.
You go to the other side of the diamond on the infield, and you got guys who are hoovers defensively, but they struggle sometimes at the plate. What's the balance there? And as a general manager, when you approach constructing this team, having good defense, but at the same time keeping the bottom of your lineup filled with batters who can knock in runs?
Well, I think that's a key there, because when you talk about where they hit in your lineup, and for us, when we were able to sign Ordonez and Martinez, all of a sudden you're talking about a guy like Brandon Inch, who we all know is a very good player. He probably doesn't hit for the average that people would like at times. Yeah, he'll drive in some runs for you, but he's a guy that now you look at hitting more near the bottom of your order rather than the middle of your order. And I think the first thing you always ask yourself is, do you think that you can win a championship with the players that you have signed? In our case, when you look at Inge and Peralta, they're different type players, but we think the positives that they bring, which again, we know they're not the perfect players, but we think we can win a championship with those players in our lineup.
Martinez is a guy who's multifaceted. He comes in most likely the DH because you like what you see out of Alex, but can you see that role for Victor changing, evolving throughout the season based on what might happen with specific players?
Well, I hope not, because we're looking at it as a positive, and we think that Alex Avila is ready to come up and catch a lot of games for us because he's a good defensive catcher, and we think he's going to hit. So people look at his average from last year and they forget he's a young guy breaking in, and that's a very difficult assignment. But for us, if he had to catch more games, could he? Yes. But we hope he doesn't have to. He can also fill a couple of games in at first base for Miguel. But you don't sit Miguel too often. Maybe you DH him a particular day or two. So all in all, could it change? Yes, but we're hopeful that it doesn't.
All right, last one's about Phil. And he's so energetic and happy to do whatever you tell him to do. Doesn't love the lefty specialist tag. Assure you of that. But you said that you liked what you saw out of him when you scouted him when he was with the Yankees and thought that he could be a starter. They moved him. Get people up to speed with your thinking about Phil Koch as a starter.
Well, we think he has the ability to start. First of all, he did do it in the minor leagues and was a very good prospect with the Yankees as a starting pitcher. We had good reports on him at that time. So he's done it before. Secondly, he has more than two pitches. He's got two fastballs with his two-seamer and his four-seamer. He's got the breaking ball and the changeup. So you're not asking him to learn another pitch. He's done it before in the sense he knows how to pace himself. He wants to do it. He's a very strong guy with a lot of desire to want to get this done. So we think he's in a situation, go out there and he can pitch very well for us as a starter.
I apologize. I do have one more. And it's about Turner, because you said that Turner's the guy who you're very excited about. How do you not rush a guy like that?
Well, I think you have to look what's best for the player. And so you're in a situation where with your club, first of all, if it's not good for the team, it's usually not good for the player. He's also at that point. But when you have a young guy like that, you get a pulse of what's good for him. And if you think that his stuff will allow him to be successful at the big league level, then you go ahead and do it. But I think it's really a matter that if you know it's better for the player, you just have to say, hey, this is best for the player and thus better for us. And you just have to be patient and his time will come.
All right. Enjoy the trip down south. We appreciate a couple minutes. Thanks very much.